What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the online family? JamiroFan 2000 here. We get another episode of JamiroFan Talks About. This, of course, has been my periodic discussion series of nearly 10 years here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel, looking at the past, present, and future of over 30 years of Jamiroquai. And this episode is going to be dealing with one of the hottest topics in the online family here in the second quarter of 2026. Of course, I'm talking about Diskokid. Now, for anybody who needs context about what I'm referring to, who had the novelty of watching my last two episodes of JamiroFan Talks About, it was a recently discovered song that was on the soundtrack to the popular sequel of The Devil Wears Prada 2, but unfortunately it was not included on the soundtrack for that movie, which is featuring other songs by luminaries like Dua Lipa and, of course, Lady Gaga with Doechii. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit of a speculative episode, so please bear that in mind and take everything that I say with a little bit of grain of salt. This is purely my opinion. But there's many members of the family have been scratching their heads like very confusingly, wondering why did a new Jamiroquai single, the fourth confirmed single from Jamiroquai album 9, mostly due to its notation at the end of the Devil Wears Prada end credits of this being the first song to be licensed by Jamiroquai Limited by BMG, which of course many members of the family know that Jamiroquai signed a new global recording deal with JK and Jamiroquai to BMG. I've been wondering, why did that song then not make it onto the official soundtrack? Well, there's a couple major reasons that I could speculate to why Diskokid, the fourth confirmed track from Jamiroquai album 9, which will hopefully see some release fruition in the early to mid-summer of 2026, why wasn't it allowed on the soundtrack? Well, one of two reasons. The first reason, maybe it was a request of the copyright owners or the band themselves that this single was not on the soundtrack. Now, many eagle-eyed members of the family have figured out that this song does appear within the confines of the movie Devil Wears Prada 2 in a scene between John Turturro and Anne Hathaway's character during a cafeteria meal scene for about a minute and 20, a minute and 30 seconds within the movie of The Devil Wears Prada. Mind you, the song Diskokid for itself is being played very ambiancely in the background, so you have to have eagle ears to actually hear the song, but you can clearly hear JK and the backup singer saying Diskokid in the chorus of that said song in that short scene from The Devil Wears Prada 2. Now, like I said, the first reason that this song probably was kept off of the soundtrack is because Jamiroquai has probably this being maybe the first single release from Jamiroquai album 9 and is imminently going to be releasing it, and they thought that they wanted to release it on their own as their first single and not have it showed up on The Devil Wears Prada 2 soundtrack, which any members of the family know that Jamiroquai did have their song 7 Days in Sunny Juice appear on the first Devil Wears Prada movie from back in 2006. So, you know, it's kind of cool seeing a little bit of soundtrack music simpatico there with this new Diskokid track making it onto the soundtrack. Now, another reason that this song probably did not make it onto the soundtrack in general, and for anybody who does not know, there are two official soundtracks to The Devil Wears Prada 2. The first of which, of course, is the one with the new music by Lady Gaga, Dua Lipa, and a number of other pop luminaries. And then the second one is an original score with mostly incidental music done by the guy who did the music for the popular Apple TV show Severance. Now, Jamiroquai's song would have shown up on the official soundtrack, which, with streaming, both of these soundtracks did go streaming on May 1st, 2026 on all major streaming platforms. So the second reason that the single probably did not show up is because of the length of the soundtrack itself. Now, most beyond original scores of movies that are heavy into music, most music soundtracks don't go past probably 12 to 14 tracks in length, mostly due to CD limitations or vinyl releases or what have you. Sometimes when it comes to vinyl releases of soundtracks of films, those usually encompass 2 LPs, so Jamiroquai's track Diskokid could show up on that, but it appears that this soundtrack is only being released as a solo LP release in some regions around the world. So, due to the limitations of soundtracks, track list not being able to go past 12 to 14 tracks, maybe that was also another speculative reason why Diskokid was not included on the soundtrack to The Devil Wears Prada 2, which is a damn shame. And the third reason is mostly just a reason of, I guess they didn't want Jamiroquai overshadowing Lady Gaga and Doechii and all these other artists' music on the soundtrack. Now, like I said, that's a bit of an inflammatory reasoning for that, but, you know, that thought passed my mind, at least a third, you know, kind of outlier reason that this track did not end up on the soundtrack. But nonetheless, it's really cool that we did that song did end up in the soundtrack, and hopefully this single, Diskokid, might end up being the first single from Jamiroquai Album 9. But like I said, we are going to be waiting for confirmation, clarification, and an official announcement from Jamiroquai HQ official social media, because we know that Jamiroquai is going to be announcing some upcoming additions to their tour, the new tour, emerging tour leg of 3 potential tour dates in Mexico and Latin America at the end of August into early September, and of course, a few more additional dates for the South American tour. And optimistically, fingers crossed, maybe a U.S. tour sometime in November and December, given that most of the band members of Jamiroquai will be busy in the month of October doing the Brother Strut new album tour in the UK. So that's still up in the air, and we're coming here into the first full week of May of 2026, and I am hoping either this week or next week we're going to get some official announcements about Jamiroquai Album 9, the first single, the track list, maybe a merchandise drop to support that, with pre-orders for CD and vinyl releases of the said 9th Jamiroquai album, which I'm hoping is still going to be titled Disco Stays the Same, because I think that's a perfect title for the album, which is one of the 4 confirmed tracks for that 9th Jamiroquai album. But nonetheless, still really cool to see Diskokid make it on there. And if any of you in the Jamily have not seen my previous videos with the actual on-screen notation from the end of the Devil Wears Prada 2 in the case of Diskokid, I'll be sure to insert that down in the description area of this episode of JamiroFan Talks About down below, so you can check that out in your own time. But I thought this warranted an episode of JamiroFan Talks About to flesh out the reasonings, at least in my own mind, on why, unfortunately, this new 9th Jamiroquai album track was not included on the official soundtrack. But, you know, they could probably surprise us by doing a deluxe edition of the Devil Wears Prada 2 soundtrack and actually include this Jamiroquai track after the fact once the album is released. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see what Jamiroquai officials announces in the coming weeks. Hopefully not long waiting weeks of May, but here in the month of May of 2026, hopefully very soon. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000. Thank you for watching this episode of JamiroFan Talks About. You like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe, and ding the bell on your YouTube, stay up to date for all the exciting times that are going to be coming to us as these major announcements hopefully come concerning their 2026 tour schedule in Latin and South America, and optimistically the U.S., and of course more information about Jamiroquai Album 9, which a lot of us members of the Jamily are waiting, clamoring to hear once it gets released. And as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll do the due diligence and bring you all that news when it becomes available. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll see you again really soon with more Jamiroquai-related videos here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Exciting times, and I'll see you around.